knowledge, multiplied by computing power, multiplied by data, equals the ability to hack humans.
Ability to hack humans? These people serious? Yeah, they're serious. And for real, it's coming whether the WF forces it or not. It's time to play offense. Let's get into it.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
I don't want you to ride. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crying in the streets. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad.
Has the whole world gone crazy? Am I the only one around here who gives a shit about the rules?
You have the luxury of not knowing what I know.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Hello, everyone. Welcome again. We're back for another Wednesday Night Live. Today we'll be doing the fourth Industrial Revolution. I have a teaser video that I'm going to be releasing. I may show it during this broadcast as well, just as a sneak peek for those who take the time to come on live and engage in the comments, etc. But before I do that, I just want to say thank you to and on behalf of myself and Jack, of course. Over the last week and a half or so, we released a couple of videos on the Great Reset. One was more just kind of making people aware that who's out there saying it, and Prince Charles and Soros and Biden and obviously Klaus Schwab, but also we put one out on digital currency as well, and we're putting these together. They're quick hit 3-minute videos, just teasers, music in the background, light music in the background, but really into hearing in their own words what WEF is telling us and what we should be concerned about and why we should be concerned. And in the course of that week and a half, you guys have gone animal on the sharing, and of course at the end of each video we tie them into the solution, which is Article 5. But you guys have shared the living daylight. I mean, between the two, I want to say they've reached well over 100,000 people, 150,000 people or so, thousands of comments and reactions, and then shares were also in the thousands. So, not only do I appreciate when you share things like this where we're going live and help us to keep this conversation going and whatnot, but the fact that you guys, we gained about 1,400 followers in the last 7 days, which was outstanding. So it's clear to me the message is that we need to keep those coming. So I'm working hard on the sideline to continue to produce those, and I do have another one on the fourth Industrial Revolution, and we're going to talk about it today first, and just have that conversation because the whole thing creeps me out, and it's Jack, when it comes to the fourth Industrial Revolution, first of all, there's a part of me that hates calling it that because Klaus Schwab came up with that name. But the other part of me is like, this is the one area where they're actually right. Like, there is a fourth Industrial Revolution coming. And for those that don't know why that name is there, we've had three industrial revolutions to date. All right, the first one was steam engines. All right, that was in the 1700s. They invented the steam engine. It allowed us to make all kinds of things, all types of machinery to help make things get done easier, quicker, faster. The railroads, etc. It was a huge change in human destiny, if you will. And then the second revolution was more innovative, assembly lines, gas engine, those types of things. The third was the computer age. All right. Now, these are all game-changing technologies. These are all game-changing, innovations. And the computer age, the age of the internet, etc. And then there's the fourth, which is upcoming, which is going to be similar to the way the second was, where it's not so much that a great technology is necessarily figured out, although there will be great technologies figured out, but with this one, the tech that's figured out is going to change humanity drastically. So, I was joking with someone, half joking, about, hey, manufacturing is going to come back to the United States. That's the good news. The bad news is it's not going to be human beings doing the manufacturing. And really, this is going to change the global climate, indefinitely. And I think for the better, so long as these doo-doos don't get to control everything. So, to me, and you could opine on this, as well, Jack, that I see decentralization is the way to go. Like I see, I think this entire global community nonsense is chaotic and crazy, and the fact that like one small country, somewhere on the globe can have such a detrimental impact if they're in hard times on every other country, instantaneously, because everybody's interwoven and interconnected. Like you could have global trade and still have every country's first focus on being self-sustainable. No?
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. The fact of the matter is that, we have folks that are acting as if they're masters of the universe and they know what's good for everybody. And, they're really trying to take this technology and write a particular destiny for us. And I agree with you. I think that if we can decentralize government, write our own destiny, this technology can and will be a benefit to humanity. If it's left in the hands of a centralized organization, especially from a global standpoint, then I think we're in for a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and I'm going to play some clips. The new teaser video that I'm going to release. Some of these clips are in that video. It's a gentleman named Yuval Harari. If you're having trouble with the pronunciation, if you Google 21 Lessons for 21st Century, it's a book that he wrote. You'll see who he is. But he's a globalist, and he spoke at the World Economic Forum 2020. And the conversation that he had, right, with the audience was basically breaking down possible scenarios, right, based on the technology that we know that we'll have. And that's the thing. And this is why I say this is the one part of what they're talking about that's actually true, because these technologies are coming. They're not going to, not come. There's no, whether there's a WEF, we call this convention, we tame the federal government, we break away from this Great Reset nonsense, all that happens. The technology is still going to come. And we're either going to embrace it, control it, and do our best to combat the evil that attempts to be done with it. Or if we don't, evil's going to get hold of this tech anyway. And then, so that there's a game that's going to have to get played regardless. The question is, who do you want to be in charge when those days come, right? Who do you think? Do you really believe Klaus Schwab and his minions, all these doo-doos out there from WEF and the World Health Organization and UN? Do you really think that these are the people that we want to be in control of this kind of power? And, the answer to me is most certainly no. And then Glenn Ray here says, Klaus is a communist POS. F you and your NWO. I agree. Eloquently said. Rodney Millar, how do we stop these nutcases before they're not listening? Because they're not listening to the people. Yeah, Rodney, they're never going to listen to the people. So, and this is, it's tricky what's happening with this whole thing, because it's not pure Marxism. Like they've taken a chapter out of
Karl
out
Marx.
of these Chinese playbook, and they're basically trying to blend. They like the idea of blending capital with, blending capitalism with totalitarianism. And the problem is it doesn't work that way. Like China, if it had taken the exact same steps it had taken previously, but had not been a totalitarian regime, they would have surpassed the United States already. Right? Like if the government was not in control of all of these companies, and they were successful the way they were at taking all our manufacturing. If they had done that and were truly a capitalist society, they would truly be the biggest economic engine in the world. But everyone knows that they are not. Even though a lot of people talk like they are, they're not. And if they were, the yuan would be the international dollar, right? It would be the fiat currency of the world. But it's not. It's not, because there's a totalitarian regime in charge, and nobody likes to invest when there's a totalitarian regime in charge. So, and when I say invest, I mean in your currency, in the bigger things, not like do business there. But all right, so I got one. So Martin says the tone is down. So I'm not sure what that means. Are you talking about my audio? If that's the case, please let me know exactly what's gone wrong, because it looks like it's working fine to me. And then Jack seems to have disappeared for a moment, but he just gets up, walks away. No big deal. Don't worry, Jack, I got this. So what I want to do now, I want to play a clip, and this is going to be from Yuval that I mentioned earlier. And then once I play a couple clips from him, I'm going to go ahead and play the whole teaser for you. And just kind of, as a matter of fact, I might just play the teaser because it'll cover quite a few of the clips, and it's only 3 minutes long, so it's not like a big thing, but it is very informative as to what they're saying. Now, keep in mind, everybody in this clip is with the WEF, right? So this is a part of the In Their Own Words series. Everything that is said here is being said by people in the WEF. Now, it's only Biden, Yuval, and Klaus, but let me roll it.
It's much worse to be irrelevant than to be exploited. Those who fail in the struggle against irrelevance would constitute a new useless class. Useless from the viewpoint of the economic and political system. And this useless class will be separated by an ever-growing gap from the ever more powerful elite.
We're in the middle of what other people call the fourth industrial revolution.
The fourth industrial revolution will impact our lives completely. It will change actually us, our own identity.
What the fourth industrial revolution will lead to is a fusion of our physical, our digital, and our biological identities.
Biological knowledge multiplied by computing power, multiplied by data, equals the ability to hack humans.
And this revolution will come at a breathtaking speed.
Governments, corporations, and armies are likely to use technology to enhance human skills that they need, like intelligence and discipline, while neglecting other human skills, like compassion, artistic sensitivity, and spirituality.
Everything will be integrated into an ecosystem driven by big data and driven particularly by close cooperation also of governments with business, civil society.
Humans will simply not be able to understand the computer's decisions. So even in supposedly free countries, humans are likely to lose control over our own lives and also lose the ability to understand public policy.
It will be like a tsunami. And actually, it's not just a digital revolution. It's digital, of course physical, it's nanotechnology, but it's also biological.
Just imagine North Korea in 20 years when everybody has to wear a biometric bracelet which constantly monitors your blood pressure, your heart rate, your brain activity, 24 hours a day. You listen to a speech on the radio by the great leader, and they know what you actually feel. You can clap your hands and smile, but if you're angry, they know you'll be in the gulag tomorrow morning.
Okay, so I still don't have Jack back. I'm not sure where he went, but I'm curious to know if anybody noticed at the end of that video, and even for our ticker now, we've had that flag you see waving in the background was actually upside down. And I'm curious to know if anybody is aware, it's a little trivia, of what an upside down flag means. So, of course, you can Google it. I would ask you to not cheat, but you can Google it if need be. But at the end, I just want to know, do you know what the upside down flag represents? In this particular video, as we talked about, as the messaging came in about how we can fight back, the flag slowly started to turn around and get back to its righteous pose. But here is the first, and Robert, you're right. It's a country in distress. So a lot of people don't realize that that's actually true. But an upside down flag, should you see one, what it means is that there is a nation in distress. So I'm not sure where Jack went, so I'm going to knock him off the screen for now. When he comes back, I can bring him back in. And yes, and Michael Arnold also. How are you, Michael? He's got the answer as well. So it is something you're going to start to see in our branding and our logos and such, because I think it's appropriate for the time being. I think the nation is in distress right now. I think there's an assault. And I think, in the end, we've already lost, the initial battles. We've lost that. That's right now what we're fighting for is to take things back, because we've lost our education system. We've lost our federal government. We've lost the core structure of the republic. What we have are the states, and really the states are the core structure. But I guess the core structure of the federal government has been lost. The core structure of the nation, fortunately, is the states by design, and we still have that. And this is all about trying to make sure that we use that in order to win, right? In order to get rid of these people. Freewheel Burning says this is just a climate change BS. Yeah, it's all climate change is the root, right? It's the root. And that's. Now you got to think of it, right? Like there's certain generations that see right through this cult, and it is a cult. This climate change stuff is a cult. If you ask questions, and there are plenty of questions to be asked, if you ask questions, what do they call you? A denier, right? Like this is the same. I mean, this is as cult-like as anything can get, and they've probably got 2 generations fully into this cult, right? And fully believing. And you have to when you're thinking about the way these people think. You say, who could ever look at a guy like Klaus Schwab and take him serious and not think that he's the creepiest freaking human being on earth? Well, put yourself in the shoes, right? And Glenn Beck says this in the Great Reset book that he wrote. He did a ton of research there. It's a great book. I recommend it to anyone. But he made a point in there about that girl Greta, I forget her last name. How dare you? That one, the kid. And he's like, what if you grew up your entire life really believing, like we all laugh every 12 years when at least most of our followers laugh during this. But in the end, despite laughing, there are two, maybe 3 generations out there who are all in, who fully believe in it. Sorry, folks, my phone fell. And I'm a little worried about Jack there. So I wanted to just see if he's messaging me, but it doesn't appear that he is. So we're going to go on. Everyone say a quick prayer for Jack. Hopefully he jumps back on. He still has the link, but he even fell out of my studio here. So I'm not sure what happened to him there, but we'll get back to him. So, but back to this 4th industrial revolution. So this technology is coming. Okay, it's coming. There's nothing. We're not going to stop it. When you hear him talk about the bracelets, like the North Koreans 20 years from now having bracelets on people and knowing exactly how they're feeling, right? And that if they're listening to the great leader on the radio, that great leader will know. At this address, this person is getting anxious and is upset right now at what I'm saying. they're a dissenter, go get them, right? So you may say to yourself, well, that's North Korea. That's not the beloved United States of America. And in the end, what I would tell you is that how hard is it for you to believe, especially if people like Klaus Schwab, whatever do, they fix an election for and put into the U.S. seat, same goes for the other nations, but how hard is it to think that Klaus Schwab would be in support of something like that? And really, do you really even think that they would have to force you to wear a bracelet like that? Like, do you not believe, because I do, that a good 75% or so of our population would happily, if they embedded it into an Apple Watch that started giving them away, people would wear them. They do it now. No one cares about the freedom given up, to social media platforms, to all of these other things that we give up our privacy to. No one cares as long as they get something for free. If a social media site comes on and wants to actually charge money for the product, and instead of you being the product, you're buying a product, people get crazy. They're like, I'm not paying for social media. I'm definitely choosing to give up all my information. And so because there's enough people that do that, everyone kind of has to, because, that's where your family is, right? That's where, how many of you have tried to get off Facebook or get off, and I don't mean shut it off for a while and not go on anything. I mean, replace it with something else. You know what I mean? And whether it's YouTube going to Rumble or look, I love the concept of Rumble, but it ain't YouTube. It just ain't. I mean, it's not even just the amount of people on it. It's the functionality of it, the way that it works. We're streaming to Rumble right now. I had to go through all kinds of extra steps to stream to Rumble. Like sometimes we don't. Sometimes I just put the the recorded version of a live stream to Rumble. I pay for Rumble to be on there, right? And I don't mind paying as long as the product is good, and it's not bad. It's just the distribution is nowhere near what even with us being shadow banned, the distribution on Rumble is not as good as it is on YouTube and Facebook. So in particular on Facebook. I mean, because it's much more share conscious. It's much more so we engage a lot more. There are more people engaged. So really, Facebook has become our king platform. But we are very focused and very dialed in on YouTube as well. But the fact that we were able to get a year's worth of YouTube subscribers in a week in followers on Facebook, it tells you which one distributes more. But again, they're two different animals. YouTube is a much different. And their standards are different. I don't want to get too deep into that. Into the fourth, to get into another quote though from our boy Yuval. Where is my? Here it is. So let me see what I have lit up here. So he talks about wars. So he talks about wars, and we've seen over the time, over the years, that China has done the inadvertent things, right? They have taken, and the Soviets started it, and China kind of picked it up, where they've kind of infiltrated the schools, ideological subversion, all that. Now you got kids running around thinking men can have babies, thinking that's biology, right? That's what that is a part of what they did quietly, right? And the change, the Hollywood change, the kids are seeing this message, generations are seeing this messaging. So they're going to school, they're hearing it, they're hearing it in Hollywood, they hear it on the radio, they hear it in their music, they hear it all over the place, right? And now with TikTok, okay? And we put out a video not long ago regarding the need to ban TikTok in the United States. And a lot of conservatives had kind of come at us from the standpoint, and I understand where they're coming from. They're just wrong. Coming at us from the standpoint of censorship. Like, that's not what we do. We don't censor. And it wasn't about censorship. Okay. It was about data collection. All right. TikTok literally is a national security issue. And people want to ignore it. Trump was on it. He was about to ban it. And we had a U.S. company, I think Microsoft was about to buy it. But people so want to do their little stupid dances and see their dog videos so bad that they're willing to allow the single greatest evil empire in the world today. Okay. And when I say today, I could easily make an argument that the CCP is the greatest evil in the world in the modern era. All right. They're complete with the concentration camps and the re-education camps or the slaughtering of civilians. They've got it all. They've got it all. All right. Now, and they've got Hitler to learn from, right? And Stalin to learn from. So, and even Mao to learn from, right? But they haven't. Mao is like, this is all still rolling, right? China never really fell in that way, where like the way the Soviets did and the way Hitler did. But like, they are the single most evil thing in this world right now, and people are perfectly okay with them mining data on their children. Like, even if you don't fully understand how big data works, even if you don't understand that, you still have to understand that an organization like that is not collecting data for nothing. Right? TikTok is not, ByteDance that owns TikTok is not a private company. It's a private company in China, all of which are subject to the CCP. Everything they do is visible to the CCP. Every piece of data they collect on your children or even you it's bad enough that you got the advertisers doing it. This is a truly nefarious entity that is doing this, and everybody's okay. And I'll say, Yuval makes a point to this, and what he says is, let's see, we got him on the third clip. I believe it's right here.
When you have enough data, you don't need to send soldiers in order to control it.
Okay. All right. His point that he makes there is the point that I'm making with TikTok. All right. And at what point do they have enough data? Well, we're actually arguing that they should have more. Like, we actually have conservatives who are arguing that for the sake of free speech, that China should, for the sake of free speech, should be allowed to mine data on our children. Like, people need to understand what this really is. And I get where those people are coming from. And on almost every other argument, I'm with them. But when you've got literally the United States' largest enemy mining data on your population, that's not okay. That's not we don't owe free speech rights to China. Okay. We don't owe free speech rights to the CCP. And I'm telling you now that is what TikTok is. All right. And when this man says, and look, there's nothing that this guy says. You can go check out it. I believe the video was called like, Saving the 21st Century, How to Survive the 21st Century. It's on the WEF YouTube channel. But this guy's not off point. Like, the stuff that he says is not off point. This, as far as what's coming, what's going to be possible, what they're going to be able to do. When he says they'll be able to hack human beings, he's not coming up with a metaphor. That's not even a possible scenario. That's a guarantee. That is absolutely going to happen. Now, can you argue, well, you know what? I'm not going to let them chip me, or I'm not going to. Yeah, you could do that. You could do that, and here's what happens, right? And this is where it's going to be interesting to watch this thing play out, because some people are going to get chipped. Okay, don't get it twisted, right? At least the 30% of Dutarus who believe that masks are necessary and wear them everywhere and saving lives, and it makes perfect sense to them to get up, take it off, put it down, all that stuff makes sense. Those people are going to line up to get chipped. I guarantee you, right? The first people in line to get vaccinated are going to be the same people who are first in line to get chipped. And here's what's going to happen. When they get chipped, they're going to instantly become infinitely smarter than the average human being, including the average extremely educated human being. All right, because data collection is going to be embedded. They're going to have the entire Library of Congress in their head, and you're going to be competing with these people for jobs. Now, the way I see it is there's going to be it'll be like two sects, people who are compliant, people who won't, just like there always are. But in the United States, if we do this right with Convention of States, All right. And the federal government does not have a say in this, which they don't really anyway. But if we get this right with Convention of States, this is going to be a non-issue for us. Yes, we're gonna need to be. We can't all say no one's getting chipped, because what's going to happen is our enemies are all going to be chipped, and now we're going to be at a disadvantage. So from a national security perspective, there's going to have to be people who are chipped, right? You see all the different things that come up with this, right? It's not as simple as just saying I'm not gonna get involved, or I'm not gonna participate. So free will burning says, compared to the sun gravitation, or even the sun's super solar storms that would devastate their proposed infrastructure anyway. Yeah, it is all technology based. But if we're counting on a solar flare to disrupt this, keep in mind, anything that disrupts all of their tech disrupts all the tech we need to live as well. So I wouldn't exactly be cheering on for a solar flare. That's probably not the way to go. Scott, how are you, sir? Sorry for the late join. Better late than never, sir. Better late than never. We love everybody to come on. We're still rolling. We got about 15 or 20 people across platforms here. We're currently streaming to YouTube, Rumble, although I don't have a count on how many are watching on Rumble. But we have Rumble, Twitch, and YouTube and Facebook. So welcome to anyone who has just recently joined. We will be releasing that teaser video shortly, probably tomorrow afternoon. But I like to give you guys a look at it first. Hold on, I just want to make sure that wasn't Jack. If anyone heard my Scooby-Doo. All right, so Jack had an allergic reaction. So he's all good, though. He's all good. He just had an allergic reaction. He wasn't able to talk without choking, so that's why he dipped off. So very public exit, but but it is what it is. And then free will saying so true. Yeah, it is true, and it's complicated, right? But here's the thing, right? It's complicated, but who do you trust to handle it, right? And that's really what this comes down to. Who do you trust to handle this situation? When we're dealing with tech, when we get word that guy's scenario about North Korea with the bracelets and them being able to read every single emotion and every single everything, like we get word about that type of tech being out there, who do you trust most to protect you from that tech ever making it here? Right. And if your answer is, well, I trust the World Economic Forum, I hope they're running stuff when all this tech comes out, then you're twisted. Right. I don't know anyone in their right mind that would be okay with Klaus Schwab running the show, or someone like Klaus Schwab running the show when this type of tech comes out. Because what will happen with all these different complicated dilemmas that come out, right? Because look, truck driving is going to be a thing of the past. Like it absolutely is. I don't see any way that career still exists 25 years from now. I just don't see it. Right? They already have big rigs on the road. They already have them running without people in them. Right? Once they get past these hoops of how do we refuel, how do we do this and that, like once they get past those steps, it's going to be over, right? What company is going to pay a driver when they don't have to? It's just not going to happen. Now, there might be other areas in trucking where they can still be, they can still find their way. But if you hear like what Yuval was saying in that video, the very first part of that teaser was the most disturbing part of the whole thing, where he talks about there being a useless class that, and he gets into it in that speech saying, it's not about being exploited anymore. Like it's not going to be in the fourth industrial revolution. It's not going to be a fight about exploitation of workers. It's going to be a fight for relevancy. And there's a big difference between those two. Right. And this is going to be on a mass scale that like even the new jobs that get created off the old jobs dying, even those jobs will become obsolete shortly and will be replaced with other ones. Like it's a constant moving target that we do really have to sit down and plan, how are we going to figure this whole thing out? How are we? And I can tell you one thing we're not doing, and one thing Cos will help with, is shutting down this Board of Education, or this Department of Education, so we can stop teaching our kids in settings that are still from like the 1800s. Like, we literally are still teaching in the same style that we did in the 19th century. I mean, it's nuts. There's no way to prepare children for what's coming if we're still that school setting was designed really for factory work. I mean, really, that's what it was designed for. And kind of, classing people off and figuring out testing and whatever. Like, that's dead. That's dead. That entire structure, if we don't innovate and change the way that we teach, obviously we got to get rid of all the Marxism and all that stuff as well, which getting rid of the Department of Education will handle as well. But we need innovative methods of preparing people for this new style workforce, and it's going to mean, if you think you're sending your kid, if you're still relying on statistics that say, well, kids with a college degree make more money, then you're putting your kids at a disadvantage. If that's the case, you're definitely putting your kids at a disadvantage. Who's going to fix the trucks? A computer? Eventually, yes. Yeah, Robert. So eventually, that's exactly. So a lot of truck drivers don't do the repairs on the vehicles anyway. But even then, even the people who do the repairs, yes, there will absolutely be like robotics. AI will diagnose the vehicle. It will pinpoint the problem. It will replace the parts. It will do the whole nine. Now, whether or not it can get the parts would be another. But I mean, that's where it's headed. That's where it's headed. Like, AI is literally going to handle everything. Now, it's not happening tomorrow. Well, the truck drivers actually is happening. That's going to happen faster than you think. Like, the automated vehicles in general, all right? Like, there's coming a day where they're probably not going to they're going to remove the privilege of driving altogether. And it's going to become one big automated thing, because it would be a mess if they have vehicles on the road that are all automated, and then Speedy Joe tries to come through and start freestyling in and out of the cars. It's going to create, sooner or later, there are going to be accidents as a result of that. And then it's going to become a situation where they just automate everything. So it's going to be, now the upside is there will be no more accidents. There will be no, like the idea, drinking and driving, like, well, if it gets advanced enough, you're sitting in the back seat, you could drink and drive if you ain't really driving, right? So like those types of things would be advantages. The downside is, if you're a car enthusiast, you're going to have to go to like certain places to go freestyle drive. It ain't going to be everywhere. But like, these are all tech, and there's nothing stopping that. Like, there's nothing like, driving's not a right. And I guarantee you that's coming. I know I've been working in technology for years now. I've known this was coming for a long time, and it is what it is. So these computers break too. Yeah, they do break. And then other computers will fix those computers. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. This is why, like, I didn't play the part. I don't know if I put in the part of that clip where he says, like, it's not about exploiting workers. It's about maintaining relevancy. And for our kids, as they grow up into this new world, they're going to, you could be trained your whole life for a high-tech position. And then, by the time you're 35, that position has been replaced by another position. And if we don't have education that's flexible enough, a lot of this is going to fall on the private companies, right? They're going to have to have in-house training to keep shifting gears and turn the old worker into the new worker, and depending on what the needs of companies are, right? There'll be jobs out there. It's not like there will be no jobs. It's just they're going to be different jobs that we're not prepared for. Many of those jobs don't even exist yet. So it's not even like we could have a school. I mean, it's an incredibly complicated situation. But when related to the WEF, and the reason I put Klaus Schwab into that teaser video and kind of had him make a statement, his generic, here's what the WEF wants to do, and then go ahead and have Yuval explain what the technology is likely to be like. Those two things combined, when you listen to them together, they were both WEF. They were two separate things, but in the end, like, they're one is showing how creepy tech is going to get. The other is showing that the WEF wants governments to lead the way on that tech, and that is creepy. It's just creepy, and there's just no other way unless you do not value freedom. That's creepy, and that's something that that's something that needs to be taken into consideration without a doubt. Says, where Scott says, where is John Connor when we need him? Yeah, no doubt. And I don't even know that it's going to get Terminator-like. I think more than it, I think the sci-fi movies that I think are going to prove to have been prophetic are going to be the ones with a merging of biology and machine. And I think that's where, but like, look, the concerns are there. The concerns are very real, right? I mean, even if you do that, like, once you start chipping yourself, and there's going to be enormous pressure to do so, and it's pressure that we don't have right now. But like, there's going to be pressure. I mean, imagine you're trying to feed your family, and you're trying to apply for some new age job, some new tech job. Everything's going to be tech job. You're going to try and apply to some tech job, and in line with you, with their applications filled out, are 8 people, all of whom have been, enhanced in some way, and you're against it all. Immediately, they're going to have an incredibly powerful AI computing, their solutions, their answers, if they're put challenges put to them in the interview, you're going to have to sit there and figure it out. They're going to have the answers instantly. And really, as an employer, there may be employers who say, I'm only hiring non-chip people, right? But in the end, any employer that doesn't have that restriction is going to hire the people who got in quote unquote enhanced, right? So, that's just how it is. And hi, Helene, howdy. So, welcome to the think tank. Welcome to our Wednesday Night Live. I hope you do take the time to subscribe, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, follow. We love them all. Both of them would be ideal, for sure. And Michael Arnold says transhumanism. Yep, transhumanism. So it's the 64th gender. No. It is, transhumanism is that. It's that cyborg kind of, blending of technology and biology. And it's going to get very complicated. But I would rather have a free people, still 100% free, right, dealing with these issues, than to have, some government, a government that still, it took them, 70 years to 80 years to acknowledge UFOs, right? To release the tapes on them and whatever. Like, how long did that take? Why? Because they don't want to admit that they don't know what they are and they can't figure it out. This is the same people you want this kind of tech being in their hands. Like, that tech will be available, and it will be decades before we even know it's there. It'll be used on us before we even know that it exists. No thanks. I don't want the government anywhere near being the only entity that's controlling this type of technology. I don't care how creepy a company gets. They got to stay within the law. The government, as we have now learned, does not. Right? If the government stays on the way they are now, there's no telling if they're not restricted by us significantly, right? Like this fourth, honestly, after learning about this fourth industrial revolution, there's all kinds of new amendments now that I have in my head under the government overreach category. There's all kinds of stuff now that I'm considering that I didn't think about before, but now I think, like the whole digital currency thing, right? Like, there should be something in the government overreach directly addressing, using things like currency and digital identification to invade people's privacy or to control certain aspects of them. Like no time like the present to put that directly into the Constitution, because those are definitely things, the founders had foreseen everything up until where we're at right now. And they foresaw even the fact that, our republic would be in jeopardy at some point as a threat from the federal government growing too large. It gave us Article 5 and the ability to call a convention. But I doubt that the founders actually foresaw, programmable money and things of that nature. These are all unique issues that we're going to be dealing with, bracelets that can, read your mind or whatever. These are all things, that we need to deal with early, because it's always, technology moves so fast. There have to be sweeping principles in place. All right. We can't do it for the whole world, but we could do it for us. And that's something that we should absolutely be considering when this convention is called. The sooner the better, right? But we should absolutely be considering those types of amendments. All right. So Michelle Sutton on Facebook, there we go. Well, hopefully more people realize that what these grubs are up to. Most people have no idea. Yeah, exactly. What's been done, what's been going on. I assume she meant in the past. Now, what the future they want us. It's unbelievable to some to even show evidence and still believe. Yeah. So, and that's it, right? Even when you show them evidence, they don't believe it. And that's kind of why I put together, and I think that's why they went so crazy, those videos. The one was the Great Reset video, and it really was on Facebook that they went nuts. And I'm trying to learn the difference between the Facebook audience and the YouTube audience, because when I was very focused on YouTube, I used to think, well, maybe my content just sucks. But then we got banned from YouTube. And I feel like if you've never been banned from YouTube, your channel's just not that good. So we got banned from YouTube twice, actually. And during that time, focused on Facebook. And before that, we learned then that our content was doing very well on Facebook. So, after it gave me the opportunity to not move into the wrong direction, thinking that we had such a major content problem. Technical issues we still deal with from time to time. But that, these two videos on Facebook have gone nuts, and they're 3-minute videos, but they're designed for the person who still doesn't believe that they're telling us. Right? And you talk to these people and they're your friends, and you talk to them and you're like, this is not because we're at the point now where once you see, right? And that's why I have those shirts made. Once you see, you can't unsee. And once you see and you're explaining it to a friend and they're looking at you like you got 3 heads, and you're just like, you're the nut. Like you're thinking to them, you're thinking to yourself, they're the nut. They're the crazy one now. It's the person who thinks that this is a conspiracy who's crazy now. They've laid out on the table. Conspiracies require secrecy. There's no secrecy here. They dodge details. Yeah, they do that. Right? When you hear Klaus Schwab talk about controlling the fourth industrial revolution, he doesn't personally get up and start talking about the same stuff that you've all talked about. But it's there, right? That stuff is there. So it's up to us to kind of put those pieces together, but they're the same organization. So it's not like we're putting pieces together, from different puzzles that don't make the same image. It's the same puzzle, and they're putting it together for you. They're even gluing the back, right? They're not even trying to trick you. It's just amazing that people still don't believe this. So that's why we put these out. I'm going to release that teaser tomorrow because I think it matters. George Washington's farewell address warned us against the two-party system. Yeah, you know what though, Michael? I don't know how else you would do it. If you start getting into I've thought this through, actually. If you have more than 2 parties, it just gets messy. Because now you end up, you think about it, right? You get 2 people, so it's the lesser of 2 evils, right? But then and that sucks, right? Because there might be a third candidate that they're not controlled by but you could always slip a Donald Trump in there. You know what I mean? Anyone calling Donald Trump a Republican is just lying to themselves. Donald Trump was never a Republican, right? I don't even know if he's conservative. I know that he loves America. I know he had some pretty good policies that were in line with conservatives, but like, I don't know what his position is on everything. I don't. I don't think he knows. I think everything with Trump is negotiable and he'll work it out, but in the end, he had good policies, but like, he's not a Republican, but he took over the Republican Party and ran. If you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candidates, you're going to end up with a president that like 20% of the people really wanted to be president. Like, and that's, that's not a good thing. Like, that's just not I don't see that ending well. Right? Because then if you're someone diabolical, you can manipulate that. Like, you just pay off a bunch of people to become candidates, really split the crap out of the vote, have them all have the same position as your opponent, and then split your opponent's vote like 9 ways or whatever. And now you come in and you just, now you come in and you kill him because, yeah, he would have got all those votes, but you put all those people in place with the same issues to run against him, and it splits it too many ways. So I just, that's my take on it. I get the argument, though. There's a lot of faults with the two-party system, too, but, I don't know that there's a solution that I don't know that there's a perfect solution. I think you can criticize just about anything. So what's the difference between a peeping Tom and government monitoring every aspect of your life? The peeping Tom goes to jail. Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Yeah, right. The peeping Tom is not doing it for the betterment. They're not doing it for the betterment of society, right? They're not doing it for your health, right? They're not doing it for all these government approved reasons. No, that's a good it's a good analogy. Good analogy. So, and then Michael says, I don't disagree with you. That's cool. Yeah. I get where you're coming from with it, though. So I don't want to, on both ends, I think this is just one of those, it gets complicated and it's hard to deal with. All right. So what do we got here? I just put that. David Alaka. If they put a mind reader on me, the system will overload and burn out. Yeah. Like, and that's another like bizarre, creepy thing about the future is like how do you control, right? Are people going to start to like, will they be able to come up with tech that could read your mind without you chipping yourself? That just reads you? like that's possible too. Like the world's getting creepy. And look, it doesn't mean I'm not in the camp of, well, that's where it's headed. That's how it is. Like, I'm not in that camp. I don't care if the technology exists. You know what other technology is going to exist? So they got something that can read my mind. I got something that can block that. You could bet your ass in a free market, there's going to be someone who designed the hell out of that stuff. And let them, as they're walking around the city and they see names of people popping up or whatever, when they get to you, it just pops up a middle finger or something you programmed in there to block it and not let them, not let them see, right? I mean, I could think of all kinds of funny tech to come out with on that. But Free Will Burning on YouTube says good people pretty much always pick a party to use as their platform to get through. Good conquers evil. Yeah, look, to me, to be honest, like mentally, like, yes, elections are very important. They are. In particular, our election process is important and it needs to be protected and preserved. I don't think enough has been done to do that. But like, to me right now, like, I'm so dialed in on calling this convention that like, I care about who gets elected, and so that it's not like doo-doo like this, right? Where it's I don't want these, obviously don't want a one world government person being elected into our political system, so those people, I will oppose to the death. But in the end, like, all I ask for, and I've said this multiple times, the only thing I'm looking for from the next president, the next senator, the next, whatever, House rep, the only thing that I'm looking for is that they don't do damage and screw the pooch worse than it already is, right? Fix what you can, do what you got to do, but don't worry, because that job is ours. Like, I'm not looking at that as it's their job. I'm looking at that as it's our job. And if anything, if there's anyone that I want to hold accountable, it's the state legislatures. Like if there's any elected official that I really want to look at, it's them, right? And this is why play offense, right? Because I'm tired of reacting. I'm tired of seeing stuff happen and then having to be like, oh, this, I can't believe they did that. We got to stop this. Oh, look at that. We got to stop that. Oh, look at this. We got to stop that. Like, I'm tired of stopping stuff. I want them stopping stuff. I want to be on offense. And that's what I see convention of states as, right? Because this is something that they're going to have to rally and try and stop. Like, let the good guys play offense for a while, right? Let the bad guys sit and go, can you believe they're going to do this? I can't believe it. Let all the dootaroos get into the little minion huts and go crazy on their little platforms and texting each other or whatever and talking about how scared they are. And they are scared. Don't get it twisted. They're just starting to ramp up now. These people are scared. And in the end, they should be scared because we're coming. And I don't care how long it takes to get this message through to people, but like once you figure it out, once you get past all the BS and you understand how powerful this tool actually is, I don't see how you could look at any other solution and see that as something that's viable. I just don't, I just don't see it. I don't see how you could, there's no solution that is as big as this. There's no solution out there other than convention of states that's going to go ahead and stop the government wasteful spending in its tracks, like make it constitutionally illegal. Right? So stop the education barrage into our state legislatures, the bribery that goes on with our money. They use our money to bribe our legislators, and it's not like they're bribing them so that the legislators are putting it in their pockets. They're bribing them with state funds. The legislatures look at like, oh, we could get, $200 million for education. Like their intentions are good. It's the government's intentions that are evil, and a lot of state legislatures are starting to realize that. They're starting to realize that. Like the more and more they get real life experience in the education system, the more and more they're realizing that this is a major freaking problem. And it is. And then Michael on YouTube says ranked choice voting. Yeah, ranked choice voting is interesting. For those of you who don't know what ranked choice voting is, I don't really know how I feel about ranked choice voting. I'm kind of, there's an upside to it for sure. It'll be interesting. He's right to watch what happens in Alaska. They're about to do it. So basically how it works is instead of just, this person won, this person lost, it'll be, all right, so this person lost, but they rank it down. So like if there's a tie or the first person, they rank it down to who's the second person who got the most votes? Who's the third person who got the most votes? And they go all the way down the system like that. And it kind of spreads. It means if your person loses, so if I vote for, let's say I voted for Donald Trump in the presidency, and Trump, I guess that's not a good example. This would be like a state thing. So let's say I vote for a state legislator and he loses. My vote then goes to my second candidate. So my vote's not gone just because my guy lost. My vote then goes so I have to vote for everybody in order that I want them. And then if my first guy loses, my vote goes to my second choice. And if my second choice loses, it goes to my third choice, etc. I like the idea. The only thing I don't like about it is I don't want to have to vote for all of these people. Like if there are people who I just don't want to have my vote at all, and I don't know how that works. So I guess I kind of have to educate myself up on that. But like if I'm in Wyoming, like I'm not putting Liz Cheney last. Like I don't want Liz Cheney on there at all. So like I don't understand if I have to vote for her. I don't like, or do they invalidate it if I leave somebody off? Because I don't like, there are certain people that I would just never vote for. And I'm not, I don't want my vote going to that person regardless of how things pan out. So let's see. They couldn't get rid of, so it's David on Facebook, they couldn't get rid of George Washington fast enough. Two-party was the plan the whole time. If I'm not mistaken, Washington left on his own. he chose to be a two-term president. I believe Jefferson followed suit with that as well. It was a choice for him to step down, and that was very George Washington like. I know this only because he's my favorite president by far. There's a variety of things about him that I just think, I think that our country would be very different if it were not him being the first president, even in the act of calling him Mr. President, as opposed to Your Highness or anything else. I mean, obviously Abraham Lincoln's a close second, but the fact is, George Washington. There are pivotal moments in our history, and that's why people like Abraham Lincoln and George Washington are so significant. Because if you do it wrong in those certain situations, it destroys everything. And so he didn't do it wrong. Like, he came through. Yeah, it says causes literally the solution as big as the problem. And it really is. It really is. I mean, imagine in one convention. I don't think that this is a simple fix, folks. Like, this is a very difficult and challenging thing to do. And so, Mike Arnold here is the state director in Massachusetts. And they just, Mike was telling me the other day, he tripled they tripled their members, their attendance to an event that they held, a celebratory event to kind of wrap up the year. That team in Massachusetts got the cause resolution past committee twice in Massachusetts. All right. So it's not like there are some states where you get it past committee and it's like, yeah, good job. But you do it in Massachusetts, and it's like that celebration is kind of analogous to the celebration where, maybe Texas would have in passing it. The celebrations escalate, right? Like the celebration in Massachusetts when cause passes is going to be absolutely epic. And the reason I say when is because I have all the faith in the world that Michael's going to get that done. And his grassroots team are going to get that done. These are some dedicated folks, and I absolutely, in my heart of hearts, believe that with that kind of leadership and that kind of fire on the ground, that they're going to get that done, and there's just no doubt in my mind. So, but yeah. So I look, just to touch back on the because we've just passed the hour. So just to touch back on the fourth industrial revolution. I am going to release that teaser video tomorrow, the one that I showed earlier. I noticed a glitch in it that I'm going to need to correct. So I'll put that up tomorrow. Take a look at the symbolism on the thumbnail when I release that. Please make sure you share, right? So, and like I said, thank you everyone for sharing the hell, especially on Facebook, out of those two videos, those the one on the Great Reset, and which is showing Soros and Biden and Prince Charles and et cetera, all talking, WEF folks talking about the Great Reset openly, and then the digital currency, where it was half of them talking and the other half people explaining why it's so creepy. But they're quick 3-minute videos. This one is no different. It'll be on the fourth industrial revolution, and for those that were on earlier, you already saw it. So cool. Otherwise, I'm going to release it tomorrow afternoon. So if you haven't followed us yet, follow us to our Facebook, folks. Take a trip over to YouTube. Give us a little subscribe and a little bell click over there as well. We could definitely use the support. Recently we did pass our 1,000 subscribers after our first year. So that was good. Just in Googling it, it seems like it takes 1.5 to 2 years on average for a channel to get their first 1,000 subscribers. So for a political channel that's been banned twice and and is not particularly on the lion's share of the distribution on these social networks, is very helpful to us. When I look and I see a video got 2,500 shares, 3,000 shares, 3,000 comments, got put in front of 100,000 people. When I see that stuff, I know it's organic. So that's why I come on and I say thank you. as I know that it wasn't Facebook going out of its way. It's those 2,000 shares, those 3,000 shares that got it the views that it got and the engagement that it got. And what does that mean? It means the channel gets more exposure and the message gets out to that many more people. So when you see, if I put those 3-minute ones out, those quick ones, share them. Share everything, but like those in particular, share, because they're designed for the person, that social media person who's not going to watch, like this, like an hour, talk, but they'll, if they get a 3-minute video, they'll engage it, and hopefully, we can reel them in with that, and they'll appreciate the rest of our content and learn something about convention of states and learn something about how to save the country, because it matters, right? There's no Superman. Superman's not coming. Doesn't matter. Trump, anyone else, they're not saving you, right? We're the ones. We're the ones who do the savings, right? We're the ones that have to play offense, right? So let's just make sure we're out there playing that offense, all right? Don't forget to like, subscribe, all the fun stuff, folks. As soon as I can navigate my way through all this craziness, it is not easy when you are producing, talking, trying to lean over, find stuff, scroll through stuff, etc. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm out.
And like that,